purpose of this presentation is to provide supporting information on the tender for Financial Audit Services that was advertised on Wednesday, the 17th of September 2014. Advertisements were placed in the Herald Sun, Financial Review and Age to establish a panel of financial auditors to assist the Auditor-General. These ads directed potential respondents to the Victorian Government Tenders website, where the tender documents are available for download. To access these documents, persons must register or have previously registered as users. The Auditor-General provides assurance to Parliament on the accountability and performance of the Victorian public sector. There are approximately 550 public sector authorities subject to an annual financial audit by the Victorian Auditor-General. The Victorian Auditor-General's Office, or VARGO, supports the Auditor-General in this role. The use of private audit firms and experts appointed by the Auditor-General under the provisions of the Audit Act 1994 are a core feature of VARGO's operations. Within VARGO, the Financial Audit, or FA Group, is responsible for undertaking financial audits in the public sector. VARGO has committed to meeting best practice standards in procuring these services and has adopted the procurement practices that are consistent with the Victorian Government Purchasing Board, or VGPB's, guidelines. In the past, VARGO has conducted an open public tender in the early part of each year to appoint audit service providers for these services. As a result of each tender, a number of contracts are awarded for 3 years with an option of an additional 2 one-year extensions. This process has involved considerable effort on the part of both firms and VARGO at a time when they are heavily involved in the delivery of existing audit demands. For example, the last tender round generated over 400 responses for 88 audits. A review has looked at the impact of the tender process and recommended that establishing a panel would provide benefits to both VARGO and firms who submit tenders as part of this process. Therefore, VARGO is seeking to establish a panel to assist with the financial audit of the public sector. The panel will replace the existing public tender round. Firms will be selected onto the panel on the basis of their experience and understanding of the financial audit process within the public sector. Firms who are currently contracted to VARGO to assist with these audits will need to apply to be part of this panel. The panel arrangement will commence on the 1st of January 2015. The panel will be established for a 5-year period with an option to extend for an additional 2 years. Each year, firms on the panel will be approached to submit a quote for the financial audit of selected public sector authorities. VARGO does not guarantee that firms will be offered contracts during the panel appointment. The objectives of the panel are to gain ready access to a pool of highly skilled contractors with the relevant experience and expertise to support the work of the Financial Audit Group, to streamline and improve the turnaround for the seeking of quotes and selection of suitable contractors, to achieve an overall reduction in administrative costs to VARGO and firms, to give panel members the opportunity to submit quotes for specific engagements throughout the contract period, to provide maximum value for money in the engagement of contractors. The tender documentation consists of 4 parts. Part A, introduction and conditions of the tender, including the evaluation criteria. Part B, which is the specification for the services being sought. Part C, draft of the panel arrangement. Part D, tenderer's response. Firms must submit a response to this request for tender to be eligible for selection onto the panel. In addition, we have included some sample documents that may be used in the conduct of the panel arrangement. These contracts consist of draft rules of use, request for quote template, and a letter of engagement which will be used for each appointment. All responses received will be assessed against the evaluation criteria. Responses must be completed on Part D, the tenderer's response, and adhere to the word limits for each section. The evaluation criteria requires firms to demonstrate evidence of experience in areas that are consistent across all financial audits in the public sector. Respondents should include sufficient information to demonstrate their expertise and/or qualifications against each of the selection criteria. Respondents should not rely on previous experience with VARGO being considered. The evaluation team can only evaluate the information that is provided in your response. Firms should highlight any specialist knowledge or sector-specific experience in their responses. As mentioned earlier, sample documents of how the panel will operate have been included in the tender. These documents include the rules that VARGO will apply when seeking quotes, Requests for quotes or an RFQ will be sought from authorities where the existing audit arrangements are due to expire. The number of quotes to be sought will be determined by the rules of use. Evaluation criteria will relate specifically to those authorities being quoted for. Quotes may be sought at any time during the year to accommodate the various audit periods, but should be completed prior to the expiry of any existing contracts. There is also a letter of agreement which will be signed for each appointment under the panel. If you have any further questions relating to this tender, questions should be submitted in writing to tenders@audit.vic.gov.au. Answers to these questions will be posted on the tenders website. Questions will close on Friday the 3rd of October 2014. Tender responses should be sent to fapanel@audit.vic.gov.au. Tenders will close at 1400 hours on Thursday the 9th of October 2014. It should be noted that late tenders will not be accepted.